dudes, this is Peggy Lane O Rourke, producer of Donna on the Go, and you are listening to Tommy Throwback Kovac on Splat from the Past. Pervert, misogynist, movie nerd, take your pick. Tommy rocks them all.
Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today I'm very excited for today's interview because I'm interviewing Mrs. Beagle from Little House on the Prairie, Charlotte Stewart. You all know her from that show, but a lot of you horror nerds out there also know her from classics like Eraserhead and Tremors, and of course, the beloved classic cult series, Twin Peaks. And also, she's been in a lot of other stuff, going back to the 60s, working with greats like Elvis and Jimmy Stewart and Henry Fonda and Gene Kelly and so many greats. And I'm having her on the show today to talk about all that stuff. I can't wait. I met her at Creatures Con back in July, and she was such a sweetheart, so humble, so sweet. And I'm glad I'm going to finally have her on the show and stuff. And it's going to be pretty extraordinary. No other way to put it except extraordinary. So yeah, here is my interview with Charlotte Stewart. Hey, Charlotte.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm sorry. I walked out of the room, and that's just when you called, and I didn't hear my phone. So here we are. I'm home, and you're there, and Tommy, thank you for being so patient.
Oh, my pleasure. Patience is one of my many middle names. Half the time, except for when it's with children, I have no patience.
Oh, you know what? Me too. I'm sorry. I'm just not good. I'm good with my own nieces and nephews.
Same
and
here.
Other people's kids, but no, I'm too selfish.
Same here. Same here. It's such an
What's going on? What are we doing?
Well, first I wanted to tell you it's such an honor, and I thank you for taking the time today. I mean, when I met you back at Creatures Con several months ago, you were so sweet to me and my mother, and I just knew I had to have you on.
I love guys with their mothers, you know, especially mothers who come to MonsterCon.
Yeah. I mean, she's not even a horror fan. She knows how much I love horror, so she went with me. Yeah. You know?
Well, good. Well, I'm doing another one in 2 weeks, I think. I'm doing something called X-Con, and I don't even know. I don't even have my calendar up. I just literally walked in the door. It's the most amazing thing that there are fans of, that I've crossed so many paths. You know what I mean?
Right.
It just amazes me. Yeah, it's called Con X in Alameda.
Oh, in Alameda. Nice. Yeah, we just went to Santa Rosa Con on Sunday, and we saw Lori Jacobson there, and she told me...
Oh, yeah, John, yeah.
She told me how wonderful you are, and I told her, you don't need to tell me, I already met her. So, going back in time, did you gravitate toward acting early on?
Well, it was kind of as a default because I was a terrible student in high school, and all my friends were going to these, going to Berkeley and Cal and UCLA and all these great colleges, and I couldn't because I didn't pay attention in high school and I didn't do grades. So I'm thinking, 1968, I'm sitting in Yuba City. Mm-hmm. What the hell am I going to do? I don't want to go to the Yuba College, the local junior college.
Right.
I just wanted to do, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I'd never thought about acting, really. Mm-hmm. And I saw an ad on the back of Teen Magazine, which is something that I thought at the time.
Right.
And it had a picture of Earl Holliman. Do you know who that is?
I know the name.
Earl Holliman was a very popular actor in the 50s.
Oh, okay.
And that kind of not a leading man, but kind of the next best friend to the leading man. He always had
character actor. Roles. Yeah.
Yeah. Good looking,
Yeah.
And it said that he had graduated from the Pasadena Playhouse. I thought, oh, that sounds like an acting school. So I sent off for an application. And I was no credits whatsoever. I got accepted, and then I told my parents, and I think my mother was like stunned at first that, because I had never mentioned anything about acting or theater.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that I got accepted to this college, and it was the State Theater of California, it kind of, she went, oh, so Charlotte does have a plan of some kind.
Yeah.
And, that's how it presented myself. And so she said, well, we'll see. And we drove down to Pasadena, and she was very impressed. The State Theater of California, it was a big 7-story building in downtown Pasadena, old established theater. They had 4 theaters there. We got a tour, and she said, fine, okay. In September, I left for Pasadena, and I never went back. Except to visit.
Yeah.
I got my first acting job, professional, and my first agent within 2 years.
It's amazing.
Started with a commercial, because I was in the Miss California pageant, and as Miss Yuba City, and the lady there was a casting agent for commercials, and I got a commercial for Tony Home Permanent.
Mm-hmm.
And that started it. Got my agent, got my SAG card, and that was it. 1960.
Wow. And you're originally from Yuba City, you said?
Yuba City, yeah. Yuba City, Marysville. Yeah.
Yeah, my uncle.
That was a farmer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My uncle, he lived there for a few years. It was a nice little town. Yeah. We went to go visit the first Christmas they were there in 2012. Then he left about 5 years later. But it was a nice little area.
It's nice. It's a little farm community, I've been back a few times. My parents are no longer living, and my sister and brother have passed, and there's no family there anymore. So I don't really have a whole lot of reason to, go. I do once in a while. But I've still got a few friends there, and we stay in touch.
Oh, that's nice. So when you were at the Pasadena Playhouse, who else was there at the time?
Well, are you familiar with Stuart Margolin?
Oh, of course, Angel from the Rockford Files.
Angel, he was in my class. Josh Bryant, who ended up playing my husband on Little House on the Prairie. Rue McClanahan.
Oh,
did,
nice.
What's it called?
Golden Girls.
Yeah, Golden Girls. She did that. She was ahead of me at 1 year. But other than that, it was like not a lot of, not everybody continues. They go into different areas. They go into not necessarily acting, but maybe producing, directing, technical. So not a lot of students ended up getting a career in acting, or they just turned to something else. But I was just really lucky. I was an ingenue until I was in my 30s. As a young blonde in everything. You can probably been on IMDb and saw my FBIs and Bonanzas and, all those shows that I did as this young blonde.
Yeah.
Got young blonde. Oh, Charlotte. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I did for a long, long time. And then in my 30s, I got Little House on the Prairie. Well, early on, which you probably know, I did Eraserhead with David Lynch.
Right.
And that was in like the early 70s, although it didn't come out until quite a while later.
Of course.
What?
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, I know the movie came out 4 years after it was started filming, right?
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. He was filming for, 6 years or something. I didn't work that long, but I did work on and off a couple of years, even into working on Little House on the Prairie. I would still go back over to the AFI and do, 2 or 3 late-night shoots with, Eraserhead. We managed it. We worked it out, I didn't change that much, I guess, through the years. I could still play Mary X.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it won the film award at the LA Film Festival. And off and running, Started David Lynch's career, and he's been one of my, dear friends ever since then. Keeps hiring me for stuff.
Mm-hmm. We're going to get into all the movie and TV roles. I was reading one of your earliest films was about the dangers of venereal disease.
That's right, VD.
Yeah.
That was my first movie. I did commercials, and then I got an agent, and she called me into the casting was in this motel in Hollywood, and her office was in the motel. So she had to come over, and I met the producer and director, and they hired me to I forget my character's name, Betty or something, Nancy or something. Yeah, we shot for 4 weeks. It was a little love story, and it was financed by the educational community, for to let people know of the dangers of venereal disease. So they had to have a little lecture in the middle. The boyfriend goes to the doctor and finds out he's got VD, so they have to show a little clip. That's how they financed it. But it showed at the drive-in in Yuba City.
Oh.
My father went every night in his pickup.
Mm-hmm.
He went every single night to the drive-in in his pickup truck for a week and watched VD.
Because
they changed the title later to
yeah,
something else, but originally it was VD. Yeah.
but he was
Wouldn't get it.
oh, he was going to see it because he was happy that his daughter was in a movie.
I was in a movie in Yuba City at the drive-in. Oh my God. He was so supportive. He was very proud. And I have to admit, I did a really good job in it. It wasn't my fault that they had to put a movie about VD in it, but as far as I was concerned, it was just a love story. Just happened the guy went with another girl and got VD. So, not my fault. I wasn't the bad girl. I was the blonde. She was the brunette. She got VD.
Yeah, that was back in the day when all you had to do was get a shot to get rid of VD,
Exactly. Yeah.
It was before AIDS.
Oh,
So,
God, yeah.
you were in the Elvis movie Speedway.
I was.
Yeah.
I was, and he held my hand and told me all about Gladys, his mother.
Mm-hmm.
And he was very sweet. I didn't know what to expect. By that time, I was married to Tim Considine.
Yep.
And so I got this part in the movie, and I grew up with Elvis. He was only 6 years older than me. Basically, he was still a young guy, and it just started doing these horrible films that he hated. And he told me, I get the car, I get the girl, I sing a song I never remember, and but he was so sweet. He was a perfect gentleman. And I really appreciated that. And he's telling me all about his mom, and I'm thinking, holy shit, Elvis Presley is holding my hand. Sometimes that happens to me. I get myself in a circumstance where I never, ever thought I would be, and I just kind of keep it to myself and, don't say anything. And, they very sweetly tell me all about themselves.
And that was like right at the end of the classic era of MGM musicals, so that just must have been a thrill for you.
Well, it was. I mean, I wasn't part of the musical, but Colonel Parker came on the set, and it was all a big deal. The only thing I noticed was that there wasn't a lot of guys hanging around. Usually what you hear about Elvis is his crew,
Yeah.
his buddies, and nobody was there. Not one of them were there. But Colonel Parker was there. He would oversee everything and make sure Elvis was the star he was supposed to be. And Elvis could give a shit. He really didn't care. He wanted to sing. That's all. He just wanted to write music and sing. He didn't care about the movies. But Colonel Parker had him under contract, and he had no choice. So he had to do one of these stupid movies one after another.
And you had Norman Turog directing. He directed all the classic Martin and Lewis movies.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, a lot of them. Not all of
yeah.
them, but some of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, those were the days when they did that. Yeah. Just turned them out.
Mm-hmm.
One after another.
And Bill Bixby.
So what else did you look up?
Oh, the Cheyenne Social Club.
Oh, yeah, with Jimmy Stewart. That was a pleasure. That was so sweet. He had his trailer on the set. We were shooting it, I think it was 20th Century Fox I think it was. I can't remember. I don't remember where it was. Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do, because Gene Kelly directed it. And we were in Hollywood, right on Formosa, the Goldwyn Theater, Goldwyn Studios. And Gene Kelly directed it. And it was, my name was Stewart, and it was Jimmy Stewart, and so he teased me about that. And he had a trailer that they actually pulled right into the soundstage, so he didn't have to be out on the lot. And he would sit on the stairs of his trailer and play the accordion. When he wasn't shooting, he'd just go and sit on the steps and play his accordion. It was so sweet.
Yeah, I mean, God, you got to work with all those legends in that movie and stuff.
I know. See how lucky I am?
I know.
I asked Henry Fonda if he had a joint, and he said, no, that's my son.
That's great. That's great. Did you ever tell Peter Fonda that?
What?
Did you ever tell Peter Fonda that?
I never met. I only met Peter Fonda once. It was just before he did, his big movie.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I didn't know him. I met him in a restaurant, and I don't even know if I'd even worked with his dad then. But no, I never told him, and I never met Jane, so I didn't tell her. But I've mentioned it. Now I've mentioned it to you, so the world knows, right? And that I asked Henry Fonda if he had a joint.
Oh, that's awesome! I love that. How was Gene Kelly as a director?
Oh, he was great. He was energetic and friendly, and I actually got to dance with him. He invited me to lunch with a bunch of people while we were there. There was a restaurant right across the street called the Formosa Inn on Melrose and Gower, I guess. And we had to walk there from the soundstage, so we walked across the lot. Mm-hmm. I think there were 4 or 5 of us going to lunch. And we're walking in the middle of the street because it's a dead-end street going to the restaurant. And I said, excuse me, Mr. Kelly, would you do me a favor? And he said, what? I said, would you do the scissor step with me? Because I had learned that at the Pasadena Playhouse. He went, yeah. So we did this set-up down the street on our way to lunch. So I can say I danced with Gene Kelly.
Wow. I heard that when he would direct a musical, he screamed at people a lot if they messed up the dance steps because he was so passionate about it,
Oh, well, we didn't have any dancing.
Right. So you got to see a different side of him as a director.
Yeah. He was just, he was, I don't know how to put it. He was being very sweet, I was a fan, and I'd grown up with him, for God's sake, Gene Kelly,
mm-hmm.
In the 50s. And so he humored me with a few dance steps on the way to lunch.
That's so awesome. How did I
tend to open my mouth sometimes, when I shouldn't. But
I do too. I do too. It's why we get along.
You kind of think, well, when am I ever going to have a chance to do something like this again? For Pete's sake.
Yeah, you only live once. Just go for it.
Exactly. Yeah.
How did the iconic Little House come into your life?
Ooh, well, I got my agent got me an interview. I heard it was a Michael Landon project, but I didn't know it was a series. And I'd never heard of Little House on the Prairie, but I knew it was a Western of some kind. And I got the sides for Miss Beadle. It was in the first episode that Miss Beadle is in when the little girls come to school for the first time in Walnut Grove. So I got it with that on the Paramount lot, and I went in for the interview, and I opened the door to the waiting room, and all these ladies are sitting there in long skirts and bonnets.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, what? I'd never do that. I would never dress up for a part. Because if they can't imagine me in a bonnet and dress, then they're in the wrong business, What they have to do is believe that I can be Miss Beadle, in my everyday clothes. And I guess I went in and it was in the script. It was Laura and Mary coming in, and the kids are being kind of raucous, and so they welcomed me in, and losing the producer's mind. Ed Friendly was the producer, and Michael was his, partner and director, and the other director was there, and casting and everything. Mm-hmm. And I came in, they said, welcome, and I said, can I ask a favor? They said, what? And I said, can I sit behind the desk? Normally you sit and read, and the casting director reads with you, and then producers behind the desk, and they watch you do that. I said, Michael looked at Ed, and Ed looked at him, and Michael started laughing, and they got up, and they went over and they sat in chairs, and I sat behind the desk, and Michael was giggling, and I slapped the woman, be quiet. I thought, oh, shit, I just told Michael Lane to shut up. And I read my part, and before I got home, I had the part. My agent called, said, they want you.
Wow.
Because I just told Michael Lane to shut up.
that must.
So I got the part, and I was on it for 4 years, which was lovely. Being under any actor that gets something that's going to last for 4 years, you just can't believe your luck.
Yeah.
And I did a few other things while I was doing Little House, because my contract was 7 out of 13 episodes, so I had a little under half of a season, to work. So I had some time off. I wasn't under exclusive contract, so I could do anything else. I did a couple of movies a week, and Return to Peyton Place, and a couple other things that I've long forgotten. And it's all there on the IMDb.
Yep.
And then left the show, which was really sad. I mean, my last day there was...
Did they write you out?
Yeah, well, I knew that when I started, it was only going to be 4 years. Because in the storyline, El Manzo Wilder comes to town and meets Laura Ingalls, and that's how she becomes Laura Ingalls Wilder. So in order to bring Almanzo in, they had to bring his sister, and she became the school teacher. So Miss Beadle had to get married, have a baby, and go bye-bye. Uh-huh. So that was okay. It was already written. I knew it. So it wasn't like a surprise.
Wow.
So that was, yeah.
And wasn't there a story that Michael Landon made a pass at you?
Well, I don't want to say, I didn't quite, in my book, I refer to it as one evening, Michael's coffee cup was full of bourbon most of the day, and he wasn't married, and neither was I. Mm-hmm. I'd split up with my husband, and he and his wife had split up, so he was kind of feeling his oats one night, as we were all, winding down the evening, and he kind of sidled up beside me and said, want to go have a drink? And I, in my womanly way, knew exactly what that meant. And I said, I think I better go home. And he looked at me and he nodded, okay. And that was the extent of it. No more than that. There was no teasing. There was no coming on.
Oh, good.
There was no touching. There was nothing like that. It was just a very subtle invitation that I knew what it meant. Quite frankly, I knew what it meant. And that was okay, and it was never mentioned again until I wrote about it in my book. And I just didn't think it was a good idea to rip one off with the boss,
Yeah.
My boss.
That's way better than a lot of stories you've been hearing the last few years, I'll tell you.
I never had that problem.
Good.
I never had that problem. I was never, one time on location, I was doing Then Came Bronson, and I don't remember the director, but he kind of insinuated that I should come to his room. We were staying in the same hotel, and I declined. And then the next day we were shooting a scene with Michael Parks, and I forget, the woman who played my mother, who was actually Hal Holbrook's wife. I can't remember her name, Carol something. And we're doing a scene with the three of us, and he didn't cover me. In a long shot, it was a dialogue between the three of us, and he didn't cover me. It was like the next day. And Michael Parks says, so what is she, chop liver?
Ugh.
He embarrassed him. and said, you know, what, can I do the scene? And then you cover me, you cover Carol, and you don't shoot her. So we embarrassed him into the coverage. But he was just trying, I think, give me a little payback, you know. You don't play it my way, I'm not gonna make you a big deal in this show.
Oh.
But that's the only time it ever happened. I never was coerced into anything. If I in my book I talk about, you know, being with a lot of men, but it was my choice.
That's good.
It's my choice. Yeah.
That's good.
I never had that kind of. I wasn't that kind of look either. I mean, I didn't. I was the ingenue, you know.
Yeah.
And probably pretty insecure about the whole thing too. You know, so I didn't really feel like I had to come on, or it just never. That wasn't my deal.
Yeah, that's really good. Really good. Now, going back to Eraserhead, how on earth did that movie come to you? And when you read the script, were you like, what the fuck is this?
Yes, I was, what the fuck is this? Yes, exactly. My roommate at the time, Doreen Small, we were living out in Topanga Canyon, which was a very hip thing to do.
Yep.
You know, back in those days, early 70s, and very early 70s. And she was a volunteer at the American Film Institute, where David Lynch was a student. And she came home one night and she said, I'm working with this guy on this movie, a student. It's called Eraserhead. And I'm working with the art department, which was Jack Fisk, who is Sissy Spacek's husband.
Right.
And the director is looking for an actress to play a part. And I told him my roommate's an actress, so he's coming for dinner. So he and Peggy came for dinner, came out to Topanga, brought me the script, and when he arrived, he gave me, I know you have another interview coming up, do you? Are we okay?
Oh, yeah, I just got the email, not till 4:30.
Perfect. Okay, I don't want to take all your time.
Oh, no, go right ahead.
When I opened the door, there was David Lynch, as this very young man. He had a Panama hat on with a hole in the top. He was wearing a blue denim shirt with a khaki jacket, which had holes in the elbows, through the shirt and through the jacket. Mm-hmm. He was wearing two neckties, and he was buttoned. The shirt was buttoned all the way up on the neck, which is what he always does. He always wears shirts buttoned all the way up to the neck.
Yeah.
He was wearing two neckties. And there were times when we were shooting that he wore three neckties, because he wears every day, and then he wears a lucky tie, and then I guess he had an extra special lucky tie. So he have two ties on and a Panama hat. And he came in and he handed me this sack of, I don't know what it was. I didn't at the time. I now know what it was. It was a sack of wheat seed. I guess he figured since I lived in the country, I could use some wheat. And he gave me this bag of wheat seed, which I said thank you and immediately put it on the floor and never saw it again. I mean, didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
Till I moved. When I moved out of Topanga to come to Hollywood to do Little House on the Prairie, I threw it over the side. I threw all the seeds over the side. Because what was I going to do in Hollywood with a sack of wheat? So last year, I'm changing planes. I'm coming back from Missouri from some festival, and I get a phone call from David Lynch. Mm-hmm. He says, Char, what did you do with the wheat seed? I said, what? He said, yeah, the wheat seed, my grandfather's wheat seed. What did you do with it? He said, oh, God, David, I threw it over the side. He said, where? I said, in Topanga. Remember my house you came to for dinner? It's still there. I threw it over the balcony. I thought, what better place for wheat to grow than on the side of the hill in Topanga? He said, great, give me the address. So I had to make a couple of phone calls and call him back. Apparently that was his grandfather's wheat seed. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I called him back with the direct address. The house was still there. My girlfriend looked it up on a satellite photo, and it's still there. So I said, your grandfather's wheat's probably growing on the side of the hill. You know, I don't know what to tell you. How was this with you?
Oh, that's hilarious. What was this one of those movies that was being shot only on weekends?
No, we shot every night, but not till after midnight. So we'd work all night until dawn, because he had already overstayed his stay at the AFI. and they were not buying him any more film. So Sissy Spacek bought the film. He was doing 35 millimeter. He wasn't doing 16. Doing 35 millimeter black and white. And so she bought the film, and he kept shooting, but we could only shoot when we could sneak in at night. So for a long time, I was there, for months. Show up at midnight, work till 6 in the morning, and then go work on the Waltons or go do Little House.
Little House, not the Waltons.
Yeah, I mean, went to Mary X to, basic Americana television.
Yeah.
One day back and forth. But it worked.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember working with Billy Wilder on his last movie, Buddy Buddy?
Of course. Yeah. Jack Lemmon and
Walter Matthau.
Well, I never had a scene with them. I had one scene where I'm holding a baby.
Yeah.
And walk out and show them the baby. That was it. That was my entire part. I was a nurse. But yeah, of course. I mean, I wasn't working with them. They happened to be on the other side of the stage, when I was shot. But, I wouldn't say I worked with them. But I watched them a lot. Because those guys were just fantastic. They were so funny.
They were the best.
So I would just sit in a chair and watch,
Yeah, they were the best. I love that movie. I love that movie. A lot of people I know hate that movie, but I love it. I mean, yeah, it's no Stalag 17 or Sunset Boulevard, but it's a funny movie.
It's a funny movie, yeah. Yeah, I mean, just to have it in my credits, with Billy Wilder, it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, it's a huge
plus. I wouldn't say he directed me. He said, come out, hold the baby, and stand there,
How about Human Highway?
Oh, yeah. I wish that had gotten more of a play. Did you ever see it?
No, it's like one of those mythic movies that I haven't been able to find.
What? Oh, you're kidding. I thought you could get it on Netflix or something.
I could check, or maybe
a
copy.
Human Highway. It's a wonderful movie. I mean, it's hysterical because, Neil plays this doofus, and that's what he thinks of himself. I mean, honest to God, Neil Young is one of the most doofus men I've ever met. I mean, he's so sweet and so wonderful, but he has this image of himself as this really kind of dork. And I think, really, he does.
Yeah.
He makes no bones about how he looks on stage,
Yeah.
what he's wearing. He could give a shit about any of that. He plays the guitar and he sings and he writes and that because he's so fabulous. But yeah, that was almost 6 weeks of work. And once again, my roommate was in the crew, Jeannie.
Mm-hmm.
She was part of the crew of the show. She had just done Woodstock, and with most of the crew from Woodstock. So the cinematographers and the lighting guy and the sound guy, they were all from Woodstock. So they all knew Neil really well. So yeah, it was really fun hanging out. Oh my God, Jim Stockwell and Russ Hamlin.
Devo.
Oh my God, it was just a crazy time.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try to find that movie too, because I want to see it badly.
I've got a copy of it. I can send it to you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I've got several. I got several copies of it. I've got several copies of Eraserhead, and I'm pretty sure I have. Yeah, I've got a disc of Human Highway right here. I don't need a bunch. I mean, you can send it back to me. You make a copy and send it back.
Yeah.
But I played. My image for my role was Marilyn Monroe, who wanted to be a singing star.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my image, and I'll put what's your address? I'll put it in the mail to you.
I'll send you my address later in email.
Okay.
So I can keep away from the stalkers.
Oh yeah, that's right. Those fans. Oh my God.
I love Irreconcilable Differences.
Yeah.
That's a funny movie.
Yeah. Which is another one, where I played a Shelley Long lookalike. In fact, they had me in her wig. It was like, the secretary that wants to be like the star, everything about me. I was wearing her clothes and her wig and everything. It was kind of fun. Yeah, it wasn't a big part, but
but you've worked with the best.
I had met Ryan O'Neal sometime before. We were in an acting class together. Before his name was O'Neal, it was Ryan something else. I can't remember his real name. Changed it after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good.
Do you remember working on Euphoria?
Oh, sure. That was John Binder's film.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend, who also produced Human Highway, produced that. It was John Binder's, he wrote and directed it. And, that was fun. 6 weeks in the Mojave Desert doing Euphoria. And I'd also done that with Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward. Fred Ward was in Euphoria.
Right. And
we had already worked together in Tremors. So we already knew each other. I think it was about that time.
Yeah.
No, Euphoria was first.
Euphoria was first.
Tremors and saw Fred. Yeah,
right.
That's right.
Yeah, I think that's an underrated movie too. That should have gotten a wide release, but it went like straight to video or something.
I know, but it was made on a shoestring, and then they couldn't get it released. Universal was holding on to it, and by that time it had passed, and there's still dilemmas about that. I stay with John and his wife when I go to L.A. Jeannie's my best friend, and they just Universal just sat on it. They just wouldn't release it.
Yeah.
It was really too bad. Yeah. Well, young filmmakers, they make it on a shoestring. The studio writes it off, and they poured their heart and soul into it, and there it sits on a shelf. Nothing they can do about it. They don't own it.
Yeah. But they did release Tremors in the theaters, and how did that movie come to you?
I think my agent called and said that they wanted me to read for it. I'm not sure how they decided on me, because I remember when I read for it, it was over at 20th Century Fox, and I was so sick. I think I had the flu, and I was so sick, and I was trying so hard. It was kind of a nothing part, mother of a little girl,
Yeah.
But it was a long part. It was 6 weeks, and that's, God damn, you've got to do your best to try to get something that's 6 weeks long on location. Good money. But I had a wonderful time doing that. It was once we, I'm talking about Euphoria, I'm talking about Tremors. Yeah, with Kevin Bacon, and then Kira was there. She was 9 months pregnant.
Reba McEntire. Reba McEntire.
And Reba McEntire. I taught Reba how to hit her mark. She had never done a role before. She'd done theater and, opera and, music on stage. But this is different, hitting your mark when there's a cast of 7 or 8 people, and you're trying, and she has to arrive exactly at a spot, when she has to, and she kind of didn't know how to do that. So I kind of took her side,
Yeah.
showed her how to hit her mark. Said, you don't look at it. You look at it out of your inner eye. You know where it is, but you never look at it. You just know where it is, and you go for it. You just go for it. Not too many people look down for a mark on the floor, or in the ground. No, that won't do it. You got to know where it is, and then see it with your other eye.
Did those monsters look really scary in person?
Oh no, they weren't. They were guys with long arms with teeth at the end. There was the only animation in that movie was at the end when the creature breaks through the wall of the cliff and goes off the side. That's the only animation. Everything else, at least in Tremors 1, now Tremors 3 that I was also in had animation in it. But Tremors 1 was all mechanical, was handheld. All of those things that leaked out of the ground were all handheld by guys on the ground. So it was fascinating. I mean, it looked more real because they were, I had something to look at. It wasn't an imagination. Tremors 3, I had to imagine this thing coming through the door. But,
They did it the same way in all the sequels, too?
I think so. I didn't see the second one. That was a retro. That was Old West, Tremors in the Old West. But number 3 was their, by this time the creatures are flying. So the graboids now have wings. And my daughter is now 10 years older, she was 12 at the time. So when we did the number 3, she was 22. And it was just kind of fun to have the same actors play the same parts 10 years later.
Mm-hmm.
And by that time, Fred wasn't in it, and Fred was in it.
Michael Gross.
Michael Gross was in it. Yeah, he was in all of them.
Yeah. So how's the Twin Peaks experience been?
Keeps going, doesn't it? Keeps going.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that was 20, 30 years ago or so. I get a call from David Lynch, said, "Hey, Char, you want to work?" I said, "Yeah." And my roommate at the time, I was sharing a house with Jack Nance, who was Henry in Eraserhead. And so Jack and I were both hired to be in Twin Peaks. And, it was fun because, I knew everybody, and it was a series. It wasn't a movie. We got to go back every week and play the same character. And, we made friends, and it was all this big secret. We couldn't tell anybody what was going to happen. It was all this huge secret. And, everybody all the fans would call each other, "What did you see last night? Did you, what's going to happen?" And we were sworn to secrecy. I couldn't tell anybody, what was going to happen, because half the time I didn't know because they wouldn't give us scripts for the rest of the show, just our parts. So we weren't allowed to be in the shooting of any of the scenes that we weren't in. We couldn't just hang out.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to watch it to find out what was going on.
Oh, that's good.
We would meet at Kyle MacLachlan's house, and he'd cook a big dinner, and, that's 13, 14 of us would sit down and watch Twin Peaks to find out what was happening. And then this one episode, Agent Cooper opens the door, and he's shot. And we all looked at each other, and we went, "Are we fired? Is that the end of the show?" That's how it ended. And because David couldn't get an okay from ABC to continue it for 13 more episodes or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, well, if they don't continue it, that's the last shot, and that's how it ends. He was going to just leave it like that. And even the actors didn't know, because he set the ending with 4 different people, 4 different actors, 4 different characters shooting Agent Cooper. So nobody knew who killed Agent Cooper. Even the actors that were in the scene, they didn't know if they did it or somebody else did it.
Yeah.
So, big secret.
Yeah.
I had people trying to bribe me for information. I said, "I'd help you, but I don't know." You won't let me read the script.
I just had Kimmy Robertson on the show the other day, and
is she a hoot or what?
Oh my God! So I met her 3 years ago at a convention, and she made me and my friend laugh out loud, right? And I knew what I was getting into when I was going to be talking to her last week, but oh my God, she took it to a whole new level. She told me a really funny blowjob story.
I bet. Oh my God, she was so funny. While I was doing Twin Peaks, I also had a day job. I was working in a production facility in Santa Monica.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to work every day, and then when I was shooting, I would just take a vacation day. I mean, my boss just loved that I was in Twin Peaks. So I would take a vacation day and go work on Twin Peaks, and then, go back to my office. And so we had that night that the show ended, the night that we thought we were fired, it was at Kyle's house, and Kimmy was there and everybody, and they were all talking about, what's going to happen. And I said, "Oh, guys, I got to go to work." And Kimmy looked at me, and she said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, I have a job.
Mm-hmm.
I have a day job." And she said, "Don't you collect unemployment?"
That's Kimmy.
I said, "No, Kimmy, I have a job I go to every day." And she went, "What?" I never heard of such a thing.
Yeah. Oh, when me and my friend were, my friend's taking a picture of me and her, right? And he's under the influence of marijuana, so he's kind of spacing out, you know. And Kimmy says after like I don't know how many seconds we've been waiting, she's like, how long does it take for you to press that button?
I know. I get that a lot.
Yeah.
Especially at the shows. You know, somebody goes, "Okay, can I have your picture?" And I go, "Sure." And now I say, on the count of 3, press the button. Because I'm not going to stand there smiling while my smile freezes on my face and I look like a total jerk.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard. It's hard to do that.
It is very hard.
Try to look like you're interested when you're, trying to keep a face for a camera. So now I say right out loud, okay, on the count of 3, you push the button.
Yeah. You had a recurring role on Life Goes On?
I did. With Patti LuPone.
Love that show.
Loved her. Oh, my God, I loved her. And my part was I was really mean. And Patty and I got in a fight. I mean, as characters.
Yeah.
We got into literally a physical fight in one of the scenes. And I just loved it. She's so fierce. Oh, my God, she's like 4 feet tall. She's such a little tiny thing. But she is so fierce. And
oh, yeah.
I have a wonderful picture of us. I'll see if I can find it. I'll send it to you. Of Patty and I at the wrap party, hugging each other, wearing our Life Goes On shirts. And, it was her son marries my daughter story. And they both have Down syndrome.
Yeah.
My character refuses to admit that her daughter has Down syndrome. So she's very unhappy that she's marrying this boy with Down syndrome. So, that's just...
Yeah.
It was really good. I'm so lucky. I get to work with so many great people.
Yeah, me and my mom, we used to watch that show every week when I was a kid, and I actually got to send an email to Patti LuPone about 15 years ago, long before the podcast, and I asked her questions, and she was very nice. She replied them back and stuff, but she also was very brutally honest in the questions, telling me about tension that arose on the set of that show and stuff like that. She doesn't have the same website anymore, so I couldn't email her again to be on the show. But, maybe someday,
right.
I don't give up hope,
Yeah.
But that was a great show.
Now she's on Broadway, right? She's on Broadway again?
Oh, yeah. She's been doing Broadway for many, many years. And she's good at it.
Yeah.
So I haven't read...
She's
go ahead.
telling people to shut their phones down. She walks right over to the edge of the stage and shut your phone.
Yeah.
Really?
She's the type to do that, too.
No, I mean, it's rude.
Oh, yeah. I know. I had this one guest. She's a one-woman show performance artist, and she was doing a show, and this woman took a call right in the middle of it, and all you hear is, hello, and then followed by, not much, and then that not much made her cry on stage. Because her friend asked her, what are you doing? Not much. That made her cry in front of everybody on stage.
It's terrible.
That's really terrible, but she turned it into humor. The way she said it was really funny.
Right.
So I haven't read your book yet, but when I was talking to Lori at the con the other day, she told me you have a very interesting story about Jim Morrison.
Well, Jim is a drinking buddy of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Before I did Little House on the Prairie, I had a clothing store on La Cienega across from the big record company. I can't remember the name of it. The record company he was with. And so we kind of were around the same crowd. I mean, Neil Young and Joni Mitchell's manager was right across the hall. So, our little store upstairs was just kind of grand central for, everybody that was in rock and roll, basically, and including Jim Morrison. And he became a friend. He became a friend because I was one of the few people who could tolerate him while he was drinking. Yeah. And we just wandered down La Cienega Boulevard and hit a bar, and then I ended up taking him home because he's too drunk to go home or drive home. And so he got to, trust me. I didn't want anything from him. I wasn't interested in being his girlfriend, although we were friends with benefits, and they say.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so one day he called me up and he said, I got to get out of town. It was right after he'd been arrested in Florida for indecent exposure.
Yeah.
And he said, I got to get out of town. You want to go? I said, sure. He said, I'll come pick you up. And he did, and we spent 4 days on the road. He didn't know where he wanted to go, so I directed him. We went up to Cambria. We stopped all along the way at little pool halls. We drank. We shot pool. I took him to the Hearst Castle, which in my book, there's a picture of him eating an ice cream cone at the Hearst Castle. And we stopped whenever we felt like it. We stayed at the what's it called? Madonna Inn on the coast up there, and we just had a good getaway. And he dropped me off the end of our little trip, and I never saw him again. He left within a month. He left for Paris with Pam, and he died there. So, yeah.
There's been a myth for many, many years that he's still alive. He's just been living in recluse in Paris.
Yeah, not true.
I wish that was true.
Not true. He had rheumatic fever as a child.
Mm-hmm.
So when he drank, his face just got beet red. I mean, like his heart was going to explode. So he had a bad heart to start with, and he abused, it terribly. And as you probably recall, he died in the bathtub.
Yes.
Probably, drunk, and he did not do drugs that I ever saw.
Mm-hmm.
I never even saw him smoke a joint. He just drank. He liked his, whiskey, and he got in a hot tub, and he was too drunk, and his heart gave out, and he died. That was as simple as it was.
Yeah, I wish that myth was true just as much as the one about Andy Kaufman. Because everyone thought that was a prank when he died.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it happens. It happens. He didn't take good care of himself, but it was sure fun. It was a fun trip, and I love that he trusted me.
Yeah.
That was part of it. Is that I was just a friend with benefits, and that was fun too.
Yeah, of course it was fun. Now, I found out that you've also struggled with drug and alcohol addiction, which I have too. I've been sober almost 5 years coming up.
Oh, God bless you.
Yes.
Well, I was sober for 27 years, and before my late husband died,
mm-hmm.
and he was also sober. So after taking care of him, we were married 20 years, and he had emphysema, and he died. We moved to Napa so he could breathe. We were in the San Fernando Valley, and I moved him to Napa. So I moved here 12 years ago, and he died 7 years ago. And when he passed away, I drink wine now. I drink Chardonnay.
Mm-hmm.
That's my drink of choice. I don't do anything hard. I don't smoke dope. I don't do pills. I don't do anything. I have a nice glass of Chardonnay with the news at night, and probably just before I go to bed, and I'm fine. I'm not going to say I'm not an alcoholic because I do like my wine, but I just don't feel like I have to go to meetings all the time. I'm remarried now. I've got a wonderful husband, takes great care of me, and that's my life now. But I did stay sober for almost 30 years, faithfully so, and worked really hard and sponsored people and all. But you know what? Now I'm in a different place in my life. So I don't care if you publish that or not or talk about it, but it's okay. No, it's okay. It's just fine. I'm not going to, not going to worry about what people think of me. It's my life.
Yeah, you said you don't do dope. You don't do dope, and you had all those pot stories before. Did you just get to a point where you were just like, I'm not doing it no more?
Yeah, when I quit everything. Yeah, 1984, I quit everything.
Wow.
It just didn't work. I was going to die. Really, I was going to die. And then I met my dear David, and he was sober too. So we, and then we were married for 20 years, and, we supported each other. And then after he passed, I stayed sober for quite a while. I had a lot of support from my groups. And then one day I just said, you know what? I'm tired of telling my story. I'm fine. I'm going to just see if I can do this. And if it's gotten out of hand, my husband's very aware of my background, and it seems to be fine.
And you've also battled breast cancer. Where do you get your resilience from? Because you're just an amazing person.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Well, I think because I work every day, not that I have a job to go to, but I raise money for a cancer program here in Napa. So I sew every day. I call them beetle bags because they're fabric tote bags in a quilt fashion with pictures from Little House on the Prairie or Tremors, or I'm looking at one right now with Elvis. So I make up these bags. I sell them at the shows, and I give 15% off the top to the Wellness Center, which is here in Napa, and it's for cancer patients to recover. It's free for cancer patients. It's supported by donations. So that's what I do now. I get up every day and I work, and then I go on the road with my husband. He does meteorites. He's a meteoriticist, which means he studies shooting stars. Mm-hmm. We do all these gem and mineral shows. So we just got back today from one. We leave again Thursday. Going to Cambria for a show.
Lovely.
We come back. We go to Concord. And then I go to Sonoma for a ladies' gift show. And then I go to Con X at Alameda Fairgrounds. And then I do a Christmas fair. So I work every day. And I think that's what keeps my life interesting.
Oh, that is just wonderful, wonderful.
I'm 78.
But you got all this energy. You keep going like the Energizer Bunny.
I do. I don't want to slow down. God help me.
Now,
I just have to tell stories about the time I worked with. No, it's not the way I want to spend my life. No.
Now, one of the staples of this podcast is I engage the guests in this quick, silly game. And how this works is these are slumber party questions, and I ask you.
Oh no!
Oh, don't worry, it's not like truth or dare. It's more like dare to be truthful.
Okay, I'll do my best.
Yes, and so how it works is I ask you the question, you answer it, and then you ask me that exact same question, and I answer it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Charlotte, are you ticklish?
Very. Are you ticklish?
I am very ticklish. In fact, I'm baby ticklish.
Me too.
What is your favorite part of the body?
Oh, gosh, that's a hard one. My favorite part of my body?
Or anybody's, yeah.
Or anybody's. I think the tuchus. I think the butt.
I love how you say it.
Part you can give a good slap to.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part?
I have always loved the belly button.
Oh. Well, as a woman, we always worry that our stomachs stick out too much. So, no, I wouldn't have gone there. But that, yeah.
Yeah. I love that. That's my favorite. What color are your toenails painted?
Right now, they're purple. Dark purple.
That was what I had about 6 weeks ago. Right now, I have no color.
No, I tried because I wear sandals a lot. I wear orthopedic flip-flops, so my toes always show. Mm-hmm. But my fingers are right now they're fuchsia.
Oh, nice.
Because when I do the shows with my husband, I show meteorites a lot, so I have them in my hand. So I'm very conscious that my hands look good, my nails are good and polished and clean. And, it's part of my job.
Mm-hmm. And my favorite one, is there a stinky smell that just makes you gag?
Oh, skunk. Just smelled it this morning.
Yeah.
Walked out the house. We're staying with friends up in El Dorado Hills, and I walked out and I said, oh. Because we're not around skunks at all here in Napa. We don't have any. But it was so familiar, and it was so pungent. And my friend walked and said, yeah, skunk. I went, oh, God. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Skunk. What about you?
Either farts or feet.
Yeah. Feet bother me. I don't have anybody in my life who has stinky feet.
Good.
My husband's very conscientious. We both are.
Good.
So, no stinky feet, but definitely farts. Yeah, that's human.
Yeah, when I came back from the hospital from my car accident, I had athlete's foot for about 6 months, and it was pretty bad.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah.
That's too bad. I didn't know you had an accident.
Oh, yeah, that's why I've been sober for almost 5 years, because it was alcohol related.
Well, I'm so glad you're taking care of yourself. God bless you.
I'm trying. I mean, I could shed, some pounds that I've gained from the depression of it, but other than that, I'm living free, I have to say.
Good. Well, God bless you, and I so appreciate that you're doing that for yourself and for everybody.
Oh, thank you, yeah. Every day is a new day, and I try to make it as good as possible. Even if I don't feel good, I try to make it as good as possible.
Well, I certainly enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. Before you go, I have a couple of really funny jokes.
Okay.
Everybody knows the old nursery rhyme. There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many kids she didn't know what to do.
You know what to do?
What did her right leg say to her left leg?
What did her right leg say to her left leg? Get out of here? I don't know.
Nothing. They never met.
Oh, God, that's really bad. That is so bad. Yeah, that's bad.
And here's what I told Lori. The one I told Lori the other day. You know the difference between a Rubik's Cube and a man's dick?
No, what? One you can figure out?
No. The more you play with it, the harder it gets.
Yeah, that's pretty bad, too.
Yeah.
How old are you again?
I'm a very old 36.
Well, it's been a pleasure. It's been fun. I love your questions.
Oh.
And I look forward to seeing you again. Any chance you'll come up for Connex or something?
I don't know if I can. I'll do my best to look into it and see if I can. If not,
okay,
maybe
2 days, the 16th and 17th at the Alameda Fairgrounds.
It's what again?
The 16th and 17th of November.
Of November. Oh, okay. Okay, it's a few weeks from now. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and I'll
4 weeks.
Okay, and I'll send you my address in the email.
Okay, yeah, and I'll put this in the mail to you, and I hope you enjoy it.
Oh, thank you, and we'll stay in touch and all that.
Okay, thank you so much. It was just a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. It was a pleasure.
All you folks out there, you be safe too, and don't fall down.
Of course, I won't fall down. I never. Okay, you have yourself a great night.
Take care.
Okay, bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Charlotte Stewart. Ain't she a sweetheart? Yes, she is, and she's had an amazing life and career, and she will continue to do so. What an inspiring, amazing, and funny lady. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Add me as a friend on Facebook. Join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes.